So this is part of our grape research program, and it's a research vineyard. It's 1 acre. We have 2 experiments going on currently. So the first 17 rows is a variety trial where we are testing 35 different varieties for mainly for cold hardiness, but also for other attributes like earliness, yield, berry quality, and time taken for maturity. So we planted these in June 2013, so they've been in the ground for 1 year. One of the common problems in Wyoming is our short growing season. The vines, they tend to die back to the crown every year, and there are 2 reasons for that. One is, of course, the growing season is short, but then our winters are so harsh that the top gets killed, and it takes at least 4 to 5 years before the vine has enough carbohydrate reserves or enough food reserves in its crown and in the trunk to make it cold hardy to where it can start. You can get commercial production. In other commercial regions, California, Washington State, or New York, you can see they can start taking production from 3 to 4 years after planting. In Wyoming, it can be as late as 7 to 8 years, and this is what this is the information we've been getting from visiting grape growers in the state. So we are mainly testing these varieties for cold hardiness, but also for other attributes. Now, spacing between rows is 10 feet. Spacing between vines is 5 feet. And so one of the objectives was to try to test as many varieties as possible. And so our spacing between the vines is a little dense. We have some growers in Wyoming who plant at 5 feet, but in general 7 feet is a good spacing for the kind of varieties that are grown in the colder regions. And you can see they're drip irrigated. You'll see 2 different colors of flags. And so the first thing we did this year is we started taking data on emergence. This was a really harsh winter. I think Sheridan got winter temperatures in excess of -30. We had -20s in the 20s, -20s for sustained for a week, and so we thought this previous winter was a perfect winter for really testing these varieties. If you look at the catalogs of different nurseries, they say that different varieties are hardy to different temperatures. You put them in the ground and they don't survive at that temperature. So this is a perfect test. This season was a perfect test for us to see if the information that is provided on these varieties is really true and applicable for our conditions. So bud break started somewhere around the 3rd week of May. It has been a cold season. Temperatures were colder than usual. So we saw initial bud break starting in May, the 3rd week of May, and so that's where you see all these red flags. Is where varieties started breaking bud and then they started growing. Initially we thought a lot of these varieties were dead, and so we were pretty depressed. But then you can see all the yellow flags that you see here. Those are varieties that are coming out late, and so you see a drastic difference in the time taken for bud break, and that's really critical for Wyoming. 2 to 3 weeks can make a difference between having a crop or having no crop. So that's a critical piece of information that we are getting is what varieties, number one, what varieties have survived this winter, but then what varieties are breaking bud early. Now you can feel free to move around in the rows, but you'll see that a lot of these plants have started flowering, and that's one of the things that I said in the high tunnel is the first 3 or 4 years, probably even in the 5th year, depending on what your conditions are, you want to remove all those flowers. You want that grape vine to invest all its energy, all the photosynthesis, all the carbohydrates that it produces during the growing season to go into the structure of the vine. And so essentially all the food that is made by the vine is helping it becoming more cold hardy over the winter period. So that's what we'll do. We'll go ahead and deflower all these vines at least for 3 or 4 years, and then starting from the 5th year we can start taking production. This is typically what you see in Wyoming vineyards is the top is killed and the vine will produce a lot of suckers from the ground. Eventually these suckers, enough food will be produced to where these suckers can be trained. What you see here is known as a high wire cordon system, to where you have one of your wires at 30 centimeters or a foot, and then you have the other wire at 5 feet. And so essentially what you would do is you would train these varieties. You would bring your main shoots up to 5 feet, and then you would train your cordons along the top part. Now another experiment that we are doing is, and that's the next 12 rows, we can walk there and you can take a look, is we are looking at different management systems. Again, the same variety, it might need a different training system in the southeastern part of the state, it might need a different training system in the basin region. So again, that's something we are testing, is if you grow a particular variety, what kind of trellis, what kind of training system, what kind of pruning system you would have to practice. And so we have 4 major varieties, cold hardy varieties that are grown in our region, and we are testing 3 different trellis systems. And again, it's interesting, you listen to information coming out of New York, a variety like Frontenac or Marquette might do well on one kind of training system, but you try that training system here in Wyoming and it doesn't work for us. And so we have to basically customize vineyard management practices for the state, and that's what we will be doing in the second experiment, where we have 4 different varieties. They're wine grape varieties. We'll be looking at 3 different training systems and 2 different pruning systems, and finally look at cold hardiness, basically look at yield, quality, earliness over a number of years, and then we can possibly provide a recommendation on what variety will do well with a particular